Hello and welcome to Murfreesboro Storyteller. We're pleased to bring to you today a program from Middle Tennessee State University, Dr. Sidney McPhee, 10th president of the university. Sidney, good morning.
Good morning, John. It's good to see you.
Good to be with you. I can't believe it's been 19 years since you came to the presidency.
19th year. Actually, August 1st, I'm beginning my 20th year. Can you believe that? How time flies when you're not having fun.
It's been a great period of history for MTSU, and you've done such a fantastic job. I know this pandemic and everything has affected everybody. I know you've had a lot of challenges over those 20 years, but nothing like this. How is the university dealing with the pandemic?
Yeah, John, you're correct. This is, I think, an overused term, but clearly describe, what we're dealing with, unprecedented. The university, along with not only the community in our county, but the nation and the world, is really dealing with a worldwide pandemic that we have in our lifetime have never, ever experienced. And so it's, as I told a number of folks, there are no books that you can turn to or a chapter that you can read to deal with how to address these extremely challenging and difficult times that we are facing. But I would say all in all, so far, our university is trying to do the best we can in addressing this issue. We are doing quite well under the circumstances. Keep in mind, this is like the 5th month that the university has to address these issues of this virus, to deal with our students, our faculty, our employees. And we are right in the middle right now of trying to begin preparation, not begin, but be ready for, in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, the beginning of the reopening of the fall 2020 semester. And so far, because of the incredible employees, our faculty, our staff, our students, we're doing quite well given the circumstance that we are facing.
Going back for the 5 months at the beginning of this, what were some of the first things that you did for the university as far as staff and faculty and students?
Well, the first thing we did was we developed the philosophy that our number one priority would be the safety and the protection of our students and our employees, that every decision that we make, beginning with the middle of March when we switched from on campus to online and to remote, that we were not going to compromise, John, the health, the welfare, and the safety of our students and our employees. And so it's one of the reasons why we switched over 5,000 courses within a week and a half. You recall that we extended our spring break in order to help our faculty and give them a week really notice of transferring over 5,000 courses that we normally would teach on campus in person to online and to remote. And then we began to find ways to provide the necessary personal protection equipment, PPEs, that would protect our students and our faculty that were still on campus. Because as a first-generation college campus, we had a number of students who had nowhere to go. So while other universities kind of, in a way, evicted all of their students from the campus, we really didn't have that option. We ended up having about 600 students throughout this pandemic, starting in March, that lived on campus that we had to take care of. And I thought, based on the circumstances, we did actually a very good job.
You had a number of the employees at that time working off campus, I believe, did you not?
Yes, we decided after the state mandated that the university and state agencies go to a work at home, remote working. We decided that we were going to have, I should say, a percentage, like a 5 or 10% of our employees, they had to work, essential employees on campus to take care of those 600 students. And so while the university shifted to remote teaching and learning and work at home, it was not a 100%. We had to keep a number of our faculty, staff, and some of our administrators on campus to manage the 600 students and provide support for those students on campus. But in the height of the shutdown, I should say, we had about 80 to 85% of our employees, that include faculty, staff, and administrators that are working at home until we began the return in middle of June, late June, early July. We started a phase 3 return to some of the employees to the campus to begin preparation for the fall 2020 semester.
So you have most of the staff and employees back on campus now, right?
Yes, we are actually in phase 3. Obviously, the first phase, we returned about 35% of the employees to campus. Second phase, that went up to about 70%. And now I think we have about 80 or 85% of our employees on campus. Classes begin within the next week and a half, August 24th. We are certainly watching the increase in infection rate, particularly in Rutherford County, to determine whether or not the university continues its plan to reopening. Right now, we are on track to do that. The good news, John, is since the mayor has instituted a mask policy, Mayor Ketchum, and I want to give him credit for making that tough decision, we've actually seen so far the infection rates for the virus go down, which provides us some degree of hope that, and it's only been like 2 weeks since that mandate has been in place. It provides us some degree of security that will continue to go down and will allow us to mitigate the impact of the virus when our students fully arrive on campus on August 24th.
What efforts are you making to keep the campus, well, I don't know whether the word's clean or pure, or be able to turn the classrooms over from one group to another?
Tremendous amount of work has been done in the last couple of months in preparation for the return of our students and our employees on August 24th. First, we were one of the first universities, by the way, that began to secure what we call the PPEs, personal protection equipments like masks, shields, wipes, and other equipments that will protect our employees and our students. We developed a pretty comprehensive system of providing what I call density of the campus.
All right.
We actually have cut the residence hall occupancy in half. We no longer have 2 and 3 students to a residence hall. We reduced that to 1 student per room. Of course, that cost the university about $3 million, but we figured that the safety and the welfare of our students is number 1 priority, so we had to make that decision. We have restructured all of our classrooms to the 6 feet social distancing, which meant that the majority of our large classes we put online or remote. Only about 40% of all the classes that we have at the university are now going to be in person and on campus. The others are going to be remote, online, and or individual connection with our students. We also have put together a very comprehensive social distancing PR campaign, we are requiring masks for all of our employees, our students, and visitors to the campus. It's mandated that if you are to enter any of the MTSU's facilities, you must wear a mask. We're going to be very strict about that, John, because we've seen, and the research has shown that when you implement these, what do you call it, mitigation practices, the wearing of masks, the social distancing, the washing of your hands, and the health kind of practices, that this virus can be controlled. And so we have spent a considerable amount of resources preparing the campus for the safety and the health of our students. We've also worked very closely with our health center. I must give kudos to Dr. Eric Clark and Rick Chapman, the director of our health center, and his staff. They've been working very closely with the leadership team at the university in advising us and preparing us to make decisions and to put in place the various necessary equipments and processes and procedures in place to keep the campus safe and clean.
What does enrollment look like for the fall? Do you have an indication yet?
Well, I don't want to jinx myself right now, John, but that's a very good question. We all were very concerned, as we should be, because all of the data and the research that we saw nationally suggested that universities would experience anywhere from 15 to 25% decline in enrollment as a result of this pandemic. So far, John, and again, I'm keeping all fingers, toes, and everything crossed at this point, that we are holding our own. Our last report, which was about a week ago, showed that we were actually up just about 1% overall in our enrollment. We saw a significant increase in our graduate enrollment. Our retention rate has been one of the best in the last 20 years. And this was, I should say, not by accident. We have worked very hard over the last couple of years, as you know, to develop a comprehensive student success initiative that is paying off. Mm-hmm. We're actually averaging 2 to 3% increase in our retention of every single class at our university, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. Yeah. We are seeing a decline in first-time freshmen and transfer students, and that is expected because a number of our students and their parents and families are deciding that they're taking a wait and see, particularly for first-time freshmen. The whole notion of taking this gap year to see exactly what's happening with the virus for those who are graduating from high school, to see if the virus continues to surge. So we're seeing a decline in our first-time freshmen. Now, remember last year, we saw a record increase in our freshman class, 14% increase. And not only in the numbers, but also the GPA, the ACT. We are attracting some of the best and the brightest students at the university. What has helped us in kind of balancing the decrease in our freshmen and transfer was the increase in our increase in our retention rates of our juniors, our sophomores, and our seniors. And that is a pretty positive news for us, because typically what you would think that continuing students would be more concerned about returning to the campus, right, than a first-time freshman. We're just saying the opposite. What that tells us, though, is that we've done a pretty good job of preparing and working with those students to realize that the university is concerned about the health and safety, that we are taking measures to medicate, to not only medicate, but mediate and mitigate the disease, and that they're having confidence in what we're doing. Our great concern at the beginning of this is that our continuing students would say, look, we're just going to take a break. We're going to see what's happening this year before we decide to re-enroll. we're actually seeing the opposite. And then the other good news is that we've seen almost 100% increase. Let me repeat that. 100% increase in our graduate enrollment.
Tremendous.
That is absolutely fantastic for us.
What
And
do
this
you
is not just
attribute that to?
admissions. This is not just admissions, John. This is registration.
That's great. Wonderful. I was impressed recently with your virtual commencement.
We've gotten a lot of good feedback from that, from our students, our graduating seniors and their parents. I think your question earlier was, what do we contribute the increase in our significant increase in our graduate enrollment? We actually restructured our graduate school. We hired a couple of years ago our new dean, David Butler. He's hired a new staff. They have been very aggressive in their recruitment and in their strategies in getting the word about the quality of our graduate programs. They did something very innovative a couple of months ago. They developed what is called an application sale to be admitted to MTSU. And it involved decreasing the application fee for graduate students, giving the fact that many of our families are experiencing financial difficulties as a result of the pandemic. They've lost their jobs. So we've actually waived our graduate application fee. Secondly, as you know, our board, upon my recommendation, decided not to increase tuition and fees this year, to keep it at the current level. And then we implemented and actually approved about 2 years ago, a number of new work-related graduate programs. I give credits to a number of our deans, but in particular, Dean Urban, our dean of Jennings A. Jones College of Business. They have restructured the MBA program, the executive MBA program, and put it online. And we've seen a significant increase in the enrollment in those programs. So there are a number of factors that the university took that resulted in the increases that we're seeing. We have not gotten the official data yet, but I understand from some of our LGIs that they're not experiencing the same increases. Actually, they're struggling with their enrollment. So we're very blessed and very lucky at MTSU at this point. Now, we still have a couple of weeks to go. And as I mentioned at the beginning of our conversation on this enrollment, I don't want to jinx myself, but right now we're doing quite well.
How about international students?
That's been a challenge, obviously, not only because of the travel restrictions and the pandemic and all the related issues. We actually are seeing a decline in international students. So we are blessed that we're able to kind of balance the decline in freshmen and in transfer with that in the increase in the retention of our continuing students and our graduate students. Now, if we're seeing a drop in all those categories, we would have been in some serious problems with regard to enrollment this fall. So if we can, John, if we can hold our own, I suspect that if we see a 1 or 2% drop overall enrollment, we would consider that a win, because
that's fantastic. Yes.
What I'm hearing, some of our community colleges are saying anywhere from, at this point, a 23% drop in the enrollment for the fall of 2020.
Does that hold true for Montlow as well?
I don't want to speak for Montlow,
No,
to be honest with you, any other institution, but overall, what we heard from our executive director of THEC, Mike Krause, is that many of our community colleges are seeing significant decline in the enrollment for the fall.
I'm sure. Any new programs be instituted this fall?
Yes, we have a new physician assistant program that we are beginning to get wrapped up for this fall. That's a great demand for that area. We have a number of programs, particularly, as you know, about a year or two ago, we started our fermentation degree program. We see enrollment increasing significantly in that. So we have 2 or 3 programs on the deck to be started this fall that we are seeing an increase in enrollment. One of the things we've done really good at MTSU is rather than just developing programs for the sake of programs, John, we've looked at what the needs, the economic and career needs of the state, and we have matched that with our program development. And what we've seen so far is that students are responding, the enrollment are being very healthy in those areas.
Let's talk about athletics, Dr. McPhee. What's the prospect for athletics this fall? Football in particular.
Your guess is good as my guess right now, John. Every day that seems to be, you know, a new variable, a new take on what the possibilities are. I would say it is 50-50 now. You perhaps read just yesterday that one of our conference schools, Old Dominion, announced that they were canceling all of their fall sports. In today's alert I got on my phone, the SEC is now saying that they're taking a wait and see about the cancellation of football. A week ago, they were all very positive that this is going to, you know, football is going to occur. There are a number of conferences, the MAC, that has canceled the entire fall, you know, sports. We have a meeting tomorrow, a virtual meeting of all the presidents of Conference USA to discuss the current status of our fall sports. So right now, I would say it's a 50-50.
I see we picked up Army if we do play.
If we do play, that would be very exciting for our fans and for the university. I am hopeful that you know, we can continue to pursue that option, but I would say that it's up in the air right now. But at this point, we're planning. The good news is that we just got yesterday the report back of the testing of over 70 plus of our athletes. You know, we test them on a regular basis.
Yes,
and
right.
0 positive results of those athletes, which is good news. Mm-hmm.
What testing would you be doing? Kind of testing with students as they come in?
No, the state does not recommend mass testing, and for good reasons. Of course, because of the limited number of tests available, you don't really want to use the limited number of tests on, quote, healthy individuals. We do have a plan in place, though, for any student that shows symptoms or that have been exposed, that our health center has in stock the number of tests to deal with those symptomatic individuals, both not only students, but employees. But it's not really wise at this point to do mass testing, particularly given the limitation of the availability of tests in the area.
Sure. Well, sounds like you're ready for whatever takes place, and we wish you well for classes and for athletics and everything else. Anything we haven't covered, Dr. McPhee, about MTSU in the fall semester?
Well, I do think that I want our citizens and our alums and supporters to know that we're taking this pandemic very serious. We're not being reckless at all. We are aware that we may need to make the decision to transition to remote or online. We're ready for that. As you know, we put together a committee chaired by a task force by our provost, Dr. Mark Burns, that include community members. We had the president of the Chamber of Commerce on that task force. We had alumni, we had faculty, staff, students, and we developed a series of scenarios that will help us to determine what would be in the best interest of our students and our employees with regards to the operation of the university. So we're not going into this blindly. We're not going into this recklessly. We have developed 5 triggers that will give the university help us make the decision that we need to shut down and move towards online to protect our students and our employees. So I do want our citizens and our supporters to know the MTSU is taking this very seriously, that we are making every effort to mitigate the spread of this disease, and that we're not going to be at all hesitant to make the tough decisions when we need to make those decisions to protect the health and safety of our students. So I end with this. Number 1 priority, the safety, the welfare, and the good health of our students, our employees, and visitors that come to the campus.
Dr. McPhee, congratulations. Obviously, you've worked hard at this, have a tremendous plan in place, and hopefully everything will be successful.
Thank you, John, and kudos to the tremendous employees that we have, including yours truly, you and others. This has been, I've told folks that the only way a university president can survive the length of time that I have is to have the incredible support and dedication and commitment of people like you and others at MTSU. Make no mistake, it's the people that make this university what it is.
Thank you, Dr. McPhee. It's a pleasure to be associated with you, and congratulations on a great work and getting ready for the fall semester.
Thank you, John, and you keep safe, and look forward to connecting with you soon. I miss seeing you and working with you one-on-one. I look forward to that in the very near future, that we can get back to somewhat what we call the new normal.
So do I. This has been a program with Dr. Sidney McPhee, 10th President of Middle Tennessee State University. Thank you, Dr. McPhee.
Thank you, John. Have a good day.